Oh, that feels good. Oh yeah, there we go.
It's just one fucking morning.
What's up, Nitro Gang? This is a 1994 Team Associated RC10GT. The name, it's classic. The chassis, it's phenomenal. I previously did a whole bunch of videos on this, but for some reason they really just were not that popular, and I really only got a couple thousand views, which is ironic because I have way more than a couple thousand subscribers. So for every of you guys out there that's a sub, make sure you watch that whole entire playlist. Today, we will be starting this in this video. Let me remove the body and you guys can understand what's so unique and phenomenal about this chassis. Many of you probably already know. By the way, this is a crowd pleaser body, one of the most, I guess, iconic designs that were ever made for aftermarket bodies. This is not the original body. It's called a crowd pleaser. You guys see this like a little CP over here? I think I'm pretty pleased. Are you pleased? There's no crowd over here. I'm just in a schoolyard. You know, in New York City, schools are out, so I could do whatever I want. But this is a damn pleaser. It's been a while since I've worked on this chassis, but I know it runs. I started it up a while ago in a quick Instagram video just to verify that it runs. RC10GT, baby. First start in about 20 years. Full rehab. OS 15 CVX motor. 1994 Nitro. You can't kill it. It wants to go, guys. It wants to go. I don't care how long I have to be here tonight. This thing is gonna start. The sun might go down, but Nitro Gang, we're ready. I brought a freaking LED light with me, so I'll be good. This chassis is not mine. I'm repairing this for a viewer of mine. He bought this brand new when it first came out in 1994, and of course the go-to mod to make was to get yourself a nice OS engine. Don't think it was a piece of cake repairing this. Just because it started, you saw that. Don't think it's all there is. The reason you haven't seen any real driving footage so far is because there were so many weird issues here. First of all, I had to make my own throttle and brake linkage. The brakes on this, disaster. We're gonna cover that in a little bit more. The diff, this thing uses a ball diff. Of course, I tried to adjust it. The thrust nut in the ball diff, well, it snapped. Luckily, you could still get parts for these, and I did. My goal here was to keep this as original as possible in the same condition that you would have ran this back in the 90s. Notice this little receiver cover. It's a silicone cover basically over the receiver. I'll show you guys right there. You see, that's the receiver inside there. It's weird if you've never seen this, but years ago, this is how people would protect their receiver. The receivers back then were relatively expensive, so protecting your receiver was a top priority, let me tell you right now. I put in new fuel lines, I did some other work. I know a lot of people are working on chassis just like this, and I could almost guarantee you, you are going to run into a problem with the ball diff being loose and then your thrust nut breaking. You're gonna have to replace that, and you're probably gonna run into issues with terrible brakes. This one, I ran into issues with both, of course. So let's... In the last part, all I did was remove the starting assembly from this engine. We checked out the huge amount of nitro soup inside. Yeah, I'm gonna call it soup because you could literally add some peas, add some carrots, and you'll have yourself a nice vegetable base with all the sludge that was in here. Here we go. We just need to get the crankshaft spinning just a little bit. I'm gonna start moving the flywheel. Okay, yeah. The piston isn't moving, guys. It's moving. We could see that. Yeah, basically not bad at all. I don't feel that much resistance. There's a good amount of pinch at the top. So the sleeve actually looks to be in really, really good shape. You can't tell any kind of scoring or any kind of issues with the sleeve at all, obviously, other than the remnants of this dried up nitro fuel. Let me show you the difference between a more modern carb like this HPI from an HPI G3.0 engine and this old school metal body OS carb. So Almost all new RCs have composite carbs like this, including Traxxas. The main issue with composite body carbs is anytime you put plastic on an engine that's going to be heating up really quickly and cooling down really quickly, the plastic itself is going to have a tendency to break over time. Eventually, you will develop air leaks in composite body carbs, and it's going to be a disaster to tune. OS years ago used to always use metal body carbs. These are not susceptible to any drastic temperature differences or variances. So once again, OS engines here for the win. Yeah. Oh, that feels good. Oh yeah, there we go. Looks good. These last a really long time, guys. It is not uncommon that one of these OSCV engines pretty much do about, 5 to 10 gallons of fuel, and they'll still have adequate compression.
Look at me eating the first bite of this pizza. We're both gonna try it, actually. Oh, no plates, unfortunately, but, that's alright. She likes it. For me, let's see. Pretty good. Pretty good, First thing I noticed, it's a little bit oily on the top here. Not too bad. You can't really taste the oil. Pepperoni has a good flavor.
While I had the entire transmission, including the brake assembly out, I decided it was a good idea to increase some of my braking power, because the owner did tell me that when he drove this when it was new, the brakes always sucked. So what I did here, basically just used a Dremel, right, with a coarse bit attached. Here's a picture of disc brake before. You could tell the metal parts are completely smooth. It's probably some oil. I cleaned it up, I Dremeled it. Take a look at this after picture. You could tell that I put a good amount of light scratches, so to say, with my Dremel tool on some of the brake surfaces. Hopefully that will increase some of the brake force being applied to this brake. I don't see anything particularly wrong with this system. Once I assemble it back, that's going to be the only way I can physically test it. So what happens is, there's a brake linkage over here. You guys see I'm pointing to it right now in the back, right here. It's basically just a rod going down this line here, and it applies pressure on this outside pad. And that is what squeezes the disc itself. That's how it works. What I really wanted to show you is what's hiding behind this little plastic spacer. Once I remove it, some of you might be surprised, but I know many of the, race fans and people that know about Team Associated, you probably will not. But for those of you that find this interesting, this goes for you. When we remove that spacer, this gives us access to the adjustable ball differential. That's right, you heard me say it. The damn differential in this thing is adjustable. Not like many of the modern electric RCs today. There's no adjustment, there's no ball differentials in there. These things, they were killing it on the racetrack, guys. What you would do is insert this 2mm Allen in there, hold the other drive output with your hand, and literally just screw it in like that. This will increase a lot of tension. So when your power is going down from your spur gear to the diffs in the back, you're not going to have a lot of slippage. Now this is what's known as a race-winning design, guys. Now Schumacher, just so you know, was the first brand that invented adjustable ball differentials, just like how I showed you right now. But Team Associated was really winning a lot of races with these things, and guess what? So was Schumacher back in the day. They were pretty much battling each other. So if you I'm adjusting the tightness of the ball diff, and of course it never fails. I'm sitting here with a brand new part. Now luckily enough, I was able to determine which exact part I need. Inside this diff cup, you can clearly see the small little balls in there. That is why they call this an adjustable ball diff. What happens is this thrust nut and also the T-bolt, the thrust bolt, applies pressure onto the little balls, and that is how you tighten up your differential for better handling. Now, of course, without failure, the original one, maybe it's old, whatever the case is, it broke off in there when I was trying to tighten it. So luckily enough for me, Amazon had a brand new set for only $7, guys. This is like a 25-year-old RC, but a lot of these stealth transmissions are basically the same as we're using like the last generation RC10, the electric one, the GT, which is the gas truck, all the way up into like the early 2000s. So there are still tons of parts for these. on Amazon, on eBay. Now I'm gonna have to disassemble this whole thing, get inside that diff, replace the thrust nut, replace the thrust bolt, then hopefully this will be good. The entire transmission is out. Notice how small this is. There's a reason why they call this the stealth transmission. Maybe because it sneaks up on you and beats you in races. I don't know. That is possible. But I think it's probably because it's freaking tiny. Look how small it is. It's basically smaller than the entire spur gear assembly. Stealth transmission, guys. This was designed like in the early 80s. Winning races almost until the day that the RC10GT and the RC10 were, you know, pretty much no longer popular at that point in terms of the stadium truck category of racing. But if the stadium truck two-wheel drive segment was still out there, I have no doubt that this stealth transmission would still be out there kicking some ass. I'm finally inside the ball diff. This is just the inside. I have to get the broken screw out of the inside of this. You could tell there are small balls lining this gear on the inside. There's also some on the outside of this other diff cup there. I'm going to do what I can, try to extract the rest of this broken screw on the inside there. It will not be easy, but the Nitro gang, we're on the job, don't you worry. Finally able to remove this broken screw inside this thrust nut on the other side. You could see right there inside, the screw is broken off. I have the new one that came with my brand new piece. I'm going to put this back in there, and then it should be fine. I'm all done with the assembly. I wanted to point out something that a lot of people are not aware of when they're trying to get into an old RC like this. Now, this is common for a lot of two-wheel drive stadium trucks. In fact, even my Team Losi XXX NT here, which I love, has the same exact situation. The hubs, guys. Notice I have the wheel removed. Look inside the wheel hub. There is no 12mm hub. There is no 17mm hex. There's nothing. It basically is just the rim going directly into the pin on the shaft. That's as simple as it is. So you're gonna have to, you know, if you're looking for different wheels, you're gonna have to get wheels like this. If you do want to use more modern wheels with regular hubs, the good thing is I'm gonna do a test fit right now. This is a wheel from my Traxxas Jado, just standard 12mm hub. I have the original hub here. I didn't replace anything here, so let's just see if it works, and we'll see whether the offsets themselves on their axle are adequate. Okay, so 12mm hub goes on, right? Nothing crazy there. Okay. The wheel is on. I don't see anything weird. You have enough space there to mount the regular nut. Let me move this actually. Okay, the wheel is on. You have plenty of space here. The offset is fine. You could easily put a nut on this thing. And boom, you know what? This is actually pretty cool. You can run yourself some modern wheels on a vintage RC platform. All you need is just a basic, you know, 12mm hex hub, set of wheels, and damn, there you go. I'm surprised. I actually learned something here myself. This was like a dry run for me. I didn't think this would work. I thought this axle itself would be some kind of weird size that it just would not go through the standard wheel, but it works. Nitro gang success yet again. I'm gonna start it up just to confirm it runs. Oh, it's gonna fire. I feel it. OS never lets you down, baby. There we go. It starts, baby. Nice and rich. Lower the idle a little bit. It's still rolling forward, but that's no big deal. I like it. You're gonna see the smoke there a little bit. Actually, let's lower the idle a little more. Motor wants to go, baby. That's it. Pretty good. Look at that. Barely rolling forward. RC10GT, baby. You can't kill it. You can't kill it. The OS Max 15CB. Gold shocks. Hub chassis. What else you want me to name here? Idle's beautiful. Hey, deer. What's up, deer? Oh, why are you running away from this ancient RC10GT? Come back, deer, come on. Ah, why are you hopping away? Just want to talk to you about some nitro. Oh, there's more deer. I see more deer. Probably gonna run away. I see more deer right there. I'm gonna walk to you. I'm gonna offer you a peace sign. This RC10GT, baby. Come on, deer. Let me get over here. Deer, where you going? Ah, they hopping away. These must be the E-word lovers too. All right, Nitro Gang, I tried to convert the deer, but actually they're vegetarian, so yeah, they're herbivores. That pretty much makes sense. Pure irony right here. The herbivores are not into the nitro, you know? Jano 3.3, really?
Good fucking morning.